Welcome to our session where you're going to hear from our informatics students. We thought Stephanie and Michael would be great to talk to you as they've both been very involved in our school community. And the two of them are very well placed to give you an insight into postgraduate student life at our school, as they've both completed MSc programs, and Michael's completed two, and they're working towards their PhDs through one of our Centres for Doctoral Training, or CDT, programs. They've also been involved in other areas, such as providing teaching support and starting their own student societies. So they have the experience to give you a really interesting perspective. And to tell you a little bit more about her personal and academic journey, I'll pass over to Stephanie.
Hi everyone. Thanks for joining. It's great to see that there's an interest in these kind of things. My name is Stefanie. I have done both an MSc here in data science and right now pursuing a PhD also in data science, but mostly machine learning, robotics type of things. So I'll just get started. I'll first tell you a little bit about what got me here, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the programs and like how I personally experienced them. So let's start. School. Why would I even mention school? So I went to school in a really small town, and I didn't really have a lot of ambition or anything. In fact, I actually chose this school because it had like ancient Greek and Latin as subjects, which I thought like were really fascinating. And I would have never imagined myself being here doing a PhD in AI where I am right now. Um, in fact, my A levels weren't even great. I'm sure you all had probably better A levels than me, especially in math. I needed a private tutor to even pass, and yeah, so it's definitely not, I guess, a traditional, oh, I loved informatics from the get-go type of thing. But yeah, I ended up having to choose computer science almost because I'm from Germany, and in Germany things are a bit different because not a lot of people want to study informatics or computer science. So even though my grades weren't that great, I could still study it, whereas for other subjects I would have had to, have higher grades. So I was like, I like a challenge. And it'll definitely be a challenge, especially giving my maths grades. So let's try that. So this is where I ended up. It's this nice, quaint little town here. It's called Marburg. It's also in Germany, and the school itself is actually known for a great law department and a great social science department. But the informatics or computer science department is actually really small. And while the actual town looks really pretty, my building was on a hill outside of town with no supermarket or any amenities, because that's how much they cared about informatics and math. But that's not to say that it was horrible. It was actually really nice, and it was still really challenging for me. Like I said, I like a challenge, and I definitely needed to like challenges to be there, because basically you get in there the first year, everyone already knows everything. It's like most people have already started computer science in their high school experience. They already had projects, they already know programming. I did not at all. So let's put it this way: it was a nice learning curve, a steep learning curve, but a nice learning curve. It was interesting, um, and yeah, I mean, it was definitely very challenging. But at the end of the day, I made it, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. And yeah, I think after the first year, I kind of found my footing, and especially if you're the only girl, you kind of start to get a little bit of motivation that you kind of want to show the guys where it's at. And so yeah, I ended up finishing quite well. And so I thought to myself, what should I do next with my life? So I was like, well, I can just fire out applications everywhere and see what sticks. And I think Edinburgh was definitely my most ambitious throwing out thing. Um, but here I am, and I was really excited that I was actually let in and that people actually gave me this opportunity, and it was basically amazing. So basically, I have to warn you, when you start an MSc and you come from a school like mine, I'm not sure where you all studied, it's hard. It's really tough. you learn a lot. There's so much cutting edge stuff here that you learn in this 1 year of the MSc, and it's so cool, and you learn so much, but it also is a lot of hard work. Basically, I felt like in this 1 year I had to do a bachelor's and a master's in one because I didn't feel like I was prepared for it in kind of any way. I'll walk a little bit through the different aspects here. So first of all, the School of Informatics. If you've visited the website, you'll have seen this banner already. And that's actually something that I find is really true because it's really representative of the School of Informatics. In my undergrad, we all wore nerd shirts and we didn't really give a crap and we all were the same people. But when you come here, you meet people from all around the world with different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different races, different everything. And it's amazing because your world kind of opens up so much. And it's just fantastic to see all these different people come together, to also see, you know, a lot of female faces in the crowd, which I found pretty cool. And yeah, it was really cool. It was just a really different experience for me. Depending on where you are, you might have already had that. And so what are like the top benefits that I think this thing gave me? First of all, it really gives you world-leading researchers and lecturers. You get so much actual cutting-edge stuff. It's not about what happened 10 years, it's about what happened last year, the year before that. So you really get to be on top of the field, especially for me in machine learning, which is the specialization that I chose. But the same thing goes for natural language processing, security, or whatever else you want to choose. And I found that really cool. And it's so interesting, but it will also be a lot of work because you need a lot of fundamentals to get there. Then you have fantastic amenities. You have a massive library here on the main campus with basically anything that you want. And if they don't have it, you can literally request it. And I've requested a couple of books and they gave them to me straight away, and at least as ebooks. And that's amazing. You have basically your own building, which is the tallest building on campus, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it's the tallest. With computer labs in every floor that you can go in, where you don't need any equipment by your own. You can just go there and study, and that's really cool. And it's in the middle of the city. For me, coming from this little facility on the hill, like just being parked there, it was really cool to come in and have the School of Informatics be a central part of the main campus. Like you're literally in the city. The city center is 5 minutes away, and that's just for me really cool. And like I said, there's this diverse student body and a great support network actually of the university itself or the school itself that's trying to provide you as much support as they can. You even get your own personal tutor if you've studied in the UK before. This is a thing that I think you get in most universities. But just so you know, you get a personal tutor here as well, and you can ask these people anything. They're basically your contact person. And I just want to say here, if you do choose to study here, or I guess wherever really, you can change your personal tutor. If your personal tutor isn't up to your standards and you feel like they don't care, you can change them. It's fine. You just need to send an email and then you can get way more out of this. I was incredibly lucky to have an amazing one, but I know a couple of people who were like, no. So you can change them. You can get fantastic people. There's a lot of people who care, and just be a little bit proactive. But now I really need you to know what you're getting into. I don't know what your background is, if your background is computer science, if your background is something else. Studying here is a lot of work. The master's is a lot of work, especially in the second semester. I personally didn't do anything else other than studying. It was really hard. It was really demanding. I had to do a lot of work, and you only have 1 year to learn everything. You might be from a school that better prepared you. I just felt like I had to do everything, like I already said. But if you're self-motivated and if you bring a little bit of passion, it'll actually go a long way, and you learn so much, and it's also so rewarding to just have all this knowledge at the end. And in the end, I look at it in a little bit of bittersweet way because I did spend all these nights there and worked and blah blah, but I also met so many friends and people there because we all did it together and we all went through it together. And I think that brings me to my next slide. It's basically, how can I be prepared? How can I make the most out of this? I don't want to spend all my time in the school building working. It's kind of obvious when you read the slide. look at your courses, look at the courses that were offered in the previous year if you don't see the ones that will be offered next year yet. Kind of choose already what you want to do. They'll all have prerequisites and they'll all tell you what you need to know. Take these things seriously. They're there for a reason. Have a look at them. And even if you don't feel like you meet them, which I felt like I didn't meet them for most of my things, that's why it was so hard for me. Um, Check a little bit out what's missing, what can I maybe prepare in the summer holidays before coming to study, things like this. Just what can I do? And often these things will boil down to refresh your maths. Linear algebra, calculus, probability theory, all three of them really, really important. Try to refresh them. There's also a couple of courses have actually some math prerequisite things there. Check out what they're doing. They might often link to courses which have textbooks, or just refresh it a little bit because that's really important. And I didn't really know the importance of that before coming here. It would have saved me a lot of work. And I think the most important thing of all, even if you don't do anything beforehand, it's still fine. Like I said, I'm here. I didn't do anything beforehand. So there's a way to do this. Make friends and make friends early. I only started making friends here in the second semester, but make friends early and build a study group or a support network. In the first week here, you basically have this welcome week where you can meet a lot of people from your year, from your study thing, and you can start making friends. Even if you don't feel like these people will be my friends, you can make a study group where you just go and study together. That helps so much more than literally anything else. Just people to keep you motivated, people to have different opinions, people to run your things by. That's, I think, the most important thing. So after all this gloomy, oh my God, it's so much work, blah, blah, blah talk, I do want to give you a little bit of a nicer ending to this. No one failed. Almost no one failed. The ones that failed, I know, had to drop out for personal reasons. There was almost no one in the year that failed. People want you to succeed. People want to give you the opportunities to do really well. And even a lot of peers that I know who came from physics, from linguistics and languages, so completely different than informatics, managed to get a distinction, so an A. So they managed to finish with like a honor here in the masters. So it's possible. It's fine. You can probably do it as well. And afterwards, you get really, really great career opportunities and academic positions as well. I got a couple of friends who went to DeepMind right after the masters. I got friends who went on to for a PhD in Oxford, in Cambridge, in the US, in great Ivy League schools, here in Edinburgh itself, of course, like me. You really, really, really get a lot out of it. It's just a question of how you'll handle it. So, a PhD in Edinburgh, what do you want to know? What do you want to do? And that's basically the biggest question, because the Edinburgh School of Informatics has a lot of opportunities, a lot of very different opportunities. We have many groups, and they have very different specializations. We actually have a very big school. So you need to be a little bit careful about what do you want to do. We have natural language processing, security, robotics, like core deep learning advancements, programming languages, formal methods, and so on and so on and so on. So you kind of need to figure out for yourself, where do my strengths lie? Where are my interests? What do I want to do? And then within these groups, each supervisor will have a bit of a different focus. You can, of course, go through the route of a CDT doctoral program kind of thing, and I'm sure you might have all seen the advertisements about that. I did not do that. I went straight into a PhD without a doctoral program or anything. And so for me, the question was really, how do I find someone? And maybe you're in the same boat as me. And I can tell you, as a general rule of thumb, young supervisors are often looking because they just started and they get a budget for a couple of PhD students. But they have small groups, and it really depends on how good this young supervisor is to help you get along, because there won't be that much support. Whereas older supervisors, they're established, they might not be looking, their group might be full, and even if they take you on, they might not have time for you just because they're so busy. If they're established, their work schedule is full. But they also have big groups and big labs. Basically, when I say groups, I mean the postdocs and PhD students under them. And they really help you. Like often the postdocs are kind of like proxy supervisors, and because there's often more than one, it's actually really nice, and you still get to learn a lot from that experience. So it's kind of your choice what do you want to do, and make sure that you find someone that suits you. Why did I read that so weirdly? Because this is really important. Um, the lab might be great, anything might be great, the supervisor might be fantastic, but it might just not suit your style, and your years will be miserable. You'll see that everywhere, and you might think, ah, it's fine. Like I could work with whatever supervisor. You can't. It really makes or breaks the PhD experience to decide on the right supervisor. Um, write the students in the lab beforehand to see what they actually think. Like write the students like, what is the supervisor like? What are the expectations of the supervisor? How hands-on is the supervisor? Like how is his communication style? Does it fit with mine and so on? I know it sounds a lot like yada yada yada, but it does end up being quite important. And then in the end, what you can do if you want to be proactive and if you're not part of the CDTs, you will have to write your own tailored research proposal. And you can even ask the supervisor or one of the seniors, if it's a big group like one of the postdocs, to have a look over it, and maybe they can have a quick chat over it and give you some advice or something like that. And that would really, really help. Now, what do you actually get? Again, you get cutting edge research. We are such a big school, and we are leading, or at least in the leading parts for a lot of the things that we do here. And that's really fantastic because you can get through seminars, through workshops, you can get a lot of the information of these cutting edge things right through your doorsteps, either by people just giving presentations of what they're doing in-house, or we have amazing people here who come here and give us talks. For example, 2 years ago, we had Jan LeCun come here, maybe 3 years ago, but we had Jan LeCun come here and give us a lecture. We get researchers who are really world-class caliber to come here and to talk about their ideas, which is really fantastic. Then as a PhD student yourself, you get the opportunity to go to a lot of workshops, and they can literally be anything from informatics specific things like how do you structure your informatics PhD type of things, to academic writing, how to properly present at a conference, how to make a poster, the best career advice for you. You get one-on-one support from our career services. There's really a lot of support here for whatever you want to do. Also, the school itself offers a lot of support. Um, and then there's fun as well. As a postgraduate in research, you get access to our university-owned outdoor sports center, which doesn't seem that fun, but if you see it, it's actually really cool. It's in the Highlands. It's right next to a lake. You can do all the things you could think about doing in a lake: windsurfing, kayaking, blah, 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 and all the things you can do around it, hiking in mountains, mountain biking, and so on and so forth. And it's fantastic. And you actually get trips to this thing like at least yearly, maybe a little bit more often than that as a PhD student, which is amazing. And then there are all the other fun activities that your big research group, so the big area that you focus on, will have a big research group focused on it, will organize. It's like there's laser tag. I've been to weekly socials. That could be pubs. It could be weird things like adventure mini golf. Like there are so many different things here. So you definitely don't get bored, and you definitely, there's always going to be a social side to it, which I just find really nice. Now, I've talked about it a little broadly. Here's my own perspective. My own perspective is I am a third year PhD student right now. I'm kind of close to finishing. I'm supposed to finish by August, so we'll see how that turns out. My research is in explainable AI in robotics, and I'm doing that with a supervisor and inside a big institute, which is called IPAP, which is basically the vision and robotics group, which then has different supervisors who have their own little groups. I really like it, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But and I want to mention that every person's path is a bit different, and I actually started out doing something else, and so I ended up switching supervisors and switching into IPAP and into my new supervisor and into my new research topic, which the school helps and supports they're there for you along the way. If you have any problems, if there's anything happening, they will be there for you, and they basically made this switch really easy and very nice. And I think that's just a nice thing to mention, because I don't think that's like that in every school. Also, there's just many workshops that I attended that helped me personally, like academic writing, because I really suck at it. That just helped me further myself, further my writing, and I just found that really cool. Yeah, one more thing about Edinburgh, because Edinburgh is such a big uni. There's a gazillion societies here that you can join. There's literally societies for anything. A society for the country that you're coming from. Like for me, there would have been a German society if I wanted that. There's so many different interest societies, from literally Quidditch of Harry Potter. Like there's people who meet to do Quidditch every week, to other things like tea societies where you just get together and have a tea and drink tea. And it's like there's so many things that you can do. Um, and there's sports clubs as well. There's so many different sports that you can do here. We have an amazing gym as well, with all the newest appliances, a climbing wall, a swimming pool, blah blah blah. So that sense, it's really cool. Like you wouldn't want to go into another gym in Edinburgh, because I think what like ours is kind of the best that you have. And then what about societies within the School of Informatics? Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of them. The first one I would say is ComSoc, which is the biggest society, but it will also have a lot of undergrads. They have a massive interest. They have the biggest number of members. There'll be loads of people from different big companies coming and giving recruitment talks. You'll see Google, Facebook, Amazon, all the big names will be there. But it's also mainly focused on anything computer science. Then there is Ed Intelligence, which is a society that I actually founded a couple of years ago, which was then specifically a postgraduate space, especially for AI and machine learning. Now it's still a bit focused on postgrads, but it's more of a mix of undergrads and postgrads. And you'll get specialized talks there about cutting edge machine learning, AI, cutting edge workshops as well, to kind of bring you closer to these topics, to help you, for example, develop your own GAN that like creates Pokemon, for example, and recruitment opportunities that are specific to this kind of field of machine learning. And I mentioned this well because it's really close to my heart. But of course, if you have other interests, there are so many more societies out there who will do the same thing for their own specialty. There's SIGINT, I think it's called. It's the security SOC, where if you're interested in security, you'll get the same thing there for the specialization of security. There's embedded system, there's robots, there's game design. Like you'll really find that because the School of Informatics is so big, there'll be so many opportunities to follow whatever your desire is. There's also Hoppers, which is a female-only computer science society, which is also cool if you just want to have like a female space to hang out and chill with. But yeah, I think that's mainly it. I hope that helped in any way. If it didn't, I'm sorry I wasted your time. But other than that, I think I'll hand it over to Michael now, and I'll be happy to take any questions at the end of the session.
Thank you, Stefanie. That's going to be quite a tough act to follow, and you've said a lot of things that are very, very relevant. I'll try and not repeat what you have very eloquently described. So I am Michael Camilleri. I am a PhD student currently in my third year in the CDT in data science, as Nicola also introduced. So I wanted to start by giving you a bit of history about, where I come from and everything. So my story starts in a small island very, very far away, which is not even visible on this map. We need to zoom in. So this is Sicily, south of Italy, and it's still barely visible. So I am from Malta, specifically from the smaller island, from Gozo, which is the smaller island in this very small map, actually. And that is where I spent the greater part of the first 18 years of my life, basically. I've always been sort of curious and interested in learning. And while maybe the sort of love of science grew with me as I grew along, but I never had actually any clear goal of what I wanted to do with my life. I just liked learning, and I just liked finding things out. And I guess maybe that's why science eventually sort of took center stage. My first dilemma was actually in choosing my university studies, not choosing which university to go. There was no problem there. There's only one university in Malta. But actually what course I would be attending. And after a lot of, looking around and sort of, deciding, should I do this, should I do that? Finally, I settled on the BSc in Communications and Computer Engineering, which was part of the School of ICT, aka Informatics, at the University of Malta. I enjoyed it a lot, but during, for example, the second year, I had a huge crisis in that I thought, oh, I might have chosen the wrong course, because I discovered the wonderful world of electronics and robotics and control theory, and I thought my course doesn't do enough of this. But luckily, I had good mentors, I had good lecturers who showed me perhaps one of the most important lessons you would learn about university, in that university doesn't teach you just the techniques, or it's not just about teaching you the techniques, but it's more about teaching you how to learn and how to learn for yourself and how to become independent researchers. And in fact, I, finished my BSc with a good grade. I got a distinction. And after my BSc, I applied for some master's courses and I was accepted, but I thought, I wanted to follow my dreams. And the problem was that I didn't really know yet what my dreams were. So I took a year off. Obviously, just following your dreams doesn't pay the bills. So I also enrolled as a research assistant at the same university. And it was there that I was introduced to two very important things. One is the love of academia and the love of combining teaching and research. And the other was machine learning. I enrolled in this massively online course and loved it, and just loved it. And in fact, after that, I applied to a couple of universities, basically Edinburgh and also UCL. I got accepted into both, and had another dilemma: which one am I going to choose? I mean, sometimes choices make it worse. And in the end, Edinburgh won out, not only because of the name of Edinburgh, but also because, coming from a more rural background, I think I wasn't prepared yet for life in London, basically. I did an MSc here. I did the MSc in robotics with the same institute that Stefanie was talking about, with IPEP. And again, it was a lot of fun. It was tough. It was a lot of work, but it was really amazing. It was really amazing experience. I met a lot of friends, joined a couple of societies, including a medieval reenactment society, which was really fun. After my master's, again, I felt I needed some time to decide what I wanted with life. So I took what I thought would be quite a short break, and I went back to Malta. I worked a bit in industry, but the short break kept becoming longer and longer and longer, until I was approached by some former lecturers about the CDT here in data science. I applied again, and again got accepted. I was really happy about that. And now here I am. I am part of the Institute for Adaptive and Neural Computation, which is another one of the institutes here in the informatics. So you would ask, why did I choose here? And I guess my answer would be, why not? Edinburgh, first of all, Edinburgh is a wonderful city. Even in COVID times, I think there could have been much worse places to be stuck. It is very multicultural, very welcoming. You basically see all seasons in a day. There's a bit of everything. There's some very cool robotics, which Stefanie did not mention. And yeah, I'm picking up the slack here. So that's another thing why you should come here. There's some very cool robots. As for the school itself, again, Stefanie said a lot about this, and I can't really do justice to what she said. But there are certainly not much better places in the UK you can be for top-notch research, especially in informatics and especially in natural language processing. Also, something that I think really attracted me to the school was actually the amount of collaboration that you find between the different groups, the different lecturers, the different subgroups and sub-institutes. And that I felt was something that was very edifying, and that you see these people working together on different projects towards common goals. What am I doing now? So I guess a lot of looking at these fairy little creatures. So my project was actually originally intended to be about looking at these videos of these mice. They are grouped in cages, and we are looking at how they behave and how their behavior also interacts on the other behavior of their own cage mates, basically. And my original plan was that I would, look at these mice, have annotated data, and build really fancy probability models of how they behave and come up with an explanation of why, when a mouse wakes up, the others do not wake up or wake up or start eating or whatever. In reality, it ended up being a lot of staring at my laptop screen, wondering why things don't work, annotating data, dealing with a lot of issues. For example, one thing is that we realized that we had a lot of video data, about a year and a half's worth of recordings, and nowhere near enough manpower to annotate them. So my PhD had to shift basically towards a lot of video processing and learning their behavior from the video. And this in itself presented a number of challenges because the mice, for example, have no external markers. So there's no way of identifying them except through an RFID tag, which is picked up through the antenna cage floor. But then, this brings up with it its own set of issues. And I guess the sort of long story short is that this is actually the twists and turns of being in a PhD. Nothing goes according to the original plan, but that is research. If it was easy and we knew how to do it, it does not get you a PhD. It's not impossible. It just needs flexibility and, for you to be ready for twists and turns. So I guess, my final advice to you would be, coming from a mere PhD student, do follow your dreams. Be pragmatic, yes, but do follow your dreams. I mean, even if you're just doing an MSc, but even more if you are looking at research, it's going to be, there will be ups and there will be downs. So it's your love of the subject that will get you through it all. Stefanie already stressed this, and I can't stress it enough. Look around for a good supervisor, and a good supervisor, a good match. So in terms of your characters, in terms of your research interests, more than maybe, looking at just the big names, because, they will be able to, if they are interested in the same things that you are, they will be able to help you more and take more of an interest in what you are doing. Don't forget your social life. Again, Stefanie mentioned a lot of the things that you can do here at the university, outside the university here in Edinburgh, and the sky's the limit, basically. And at the end of the day, also look at the bigger picture. And I guess I would end with this, in the sense that, okay, it's important to take stock and do a good decision in the sense that with what you have right now. But at the end of the day, it's also just a master's. It's also just a PhD. It doesn't define who you are. And it's important, again, so it's about having a balance. It's about having a balance between, yes, it is an important decision, because if it's a PhD, for example, it's 4 years of your life. So it's certainly a time commitment. But at the same time, it's also about looking at it in the bigger picture of where it fits with your own life goals. And I guess that would be it for me.
Thank you to Stefanie and Michael for their insights into MSc and PhD study at the School of Informatics. Please check out our school website for further details of our programmes. We hope you'll join our vibrant student community here at the School of Informatics at the University of Edinburgh. Thank you.